Thank you.
So we're ready.
Thank
Well, good morning, everyone, to the Board of County Commissioners regular meeting for March 19th, 2024. If you'd rise and help me with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. Any additions to the agenda?
We will postpone item number 6 to the April 2nd regular commissioner meeting.
Okay. With that change, we'll approve the agenda. Constituents time. Anybody in the room that'd like to address? Orville, you signed up first. Do you want to address?
Yeah,
Okay,
he didn't put yes, did he?
state your name and address, if you would, please, for the record.
Ron Hayes, 2153 Testman Road, Delta.
Bradford Davis, 581 Cypresswood Lane, Delta.
Good morning.
Morning.
We are here representing the
Downtown.
downtown Delta Partnership. It has come to our attention and we have helped get ball rolling with the removal of the material, the Delta cleaners. It was finally getting it. The EPA was contacted through us. Through liaisons, we were able to get them to commit to help clean it up with a government entity. So the city of Delta stepped up and said that they would do that with our help and the help of the owner of the building. That's in a nutshell.
That is very good news.
In talking, we see that there is going to be an asbestos removal site in our county, but it's 2 years out.
Well,
Is that
No.
correct? I mean, that's, you know,
Correct.
well, okay, so that's okay.
what we're here to
That's
address.
what we're here to address, yeah. So how far out is it and is it a possibility?
It's a possibility. The challenge is we gotta get through our South Valley permitting before we can even think about it. The other issue is it is incredibly expensive to set up an asbestos cell. It has to be separate from the other cells.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
we're familiar with all of this, going through the processes and looking at that. Was there any asbestos in the library?
No.
No, there wasn't. That was the earlier, yeah, because that's where we're at right now with, between 1930 and 1980 in the county, there was 6,800 or 6,381 buildings, structures built. All of this remodeling stuff that's happening now, we're getting ready on Main Street at the Elks Building to do electrical work on 3 floors, and who knows what we're gonna get into. You know, we got into it a little bit with the sewer project last year. But we just want, what we're looking at as the downtown businesses, if you will, livelihood, is trying to cut costs. And what this would it be beneficial for the county to do this or to have all of this stuff hauled off? That's, you know, we just want to get this into the picture because we're getting ready to, there's more to come downtown with Hartman's project and the sale and progress of some of the other businesses in town. You know, it's gonna start going this way. So that's what we just want to know.
We've had the discussion, you know, and this discussion goes back 7-8 years since I've been on the board. We've been having a discussion. The challenge is just that initial investment it takes to make it go. Incredibly expensive to make it happen. And that's the challenge. But it is something that we have discussed numerous times. And right now, the bandwidth to take on another permitting process is not there. We just don't have the staff to take on another permitting process in landfill.
I can give a quick update to where we're at permitting South Valley.
We'd love that, yeah, because, yeah, if we wanna,
So we expect to submit the permit for South Valley landfill expansion middle of April. We're told to expect a year and a half of just permit approval through CDPHE. And then we have to put it out to bid and construct South Valley. Once we get this permit, we can start looking at a business case for an asbestos cell. Of course, which requires a synthetic liner, unique and separate, and all those things. We expect that same kind of time frame. Where it'll take 2 years maybe just to permit it, let alone construct it and have it ready for use. I don't want to give you guys false hopes. This thing is, 2025.
so when we said 2 years at the beginning of the conversation, you laughed. It's really not. I mean, it's conceivable that it's gonna be longer than 2 years, so.
When you
That's
have
not
a
even
year,
la-
year and a
that's not
half
laughable,
just
yeah.
for permitting.
Okay, well, thank you on that update.
And I'd like to reiterate, be sure to listen to what Don and Wendell are saying. How it got out that in 2 years we're gonna have asbestos area dump.
No, that's not what we said. It said it was within 2 years of, we weren't gonna have it done in 2 years, but it was 2 years out.
Well, and another thing is the time frame. Plus, it'll take millions of dollars of taxpayers' money to get something like that up and running and generated to staff it. And so don't go away with the idea that even though there's that many buildings made between 1930 and 1980, that they're gonna have a place when they start remodeling for the asbestos in Delta County. Cause it's gonna be years and millions of dollars before that happens. So just take that, food for thought. It's down the road, maybe it's a possibility, but money and staff and the permitting time, keep that in your back of your mind.
Also, I had a question too, grants and funding that are available to the county, is that something that we could look or assist in looking into toward completing a project like this? Because we're gonna be looking at grant money for redevelopment, et cetera, and that could be under that umbrella as well.
It could be there, but who knows?
Yeah.
And once you start dealing with the EPA, what a web that is.
The other challenge with grant funding is this would be operated as an enterprise fund. And grant funding for enterprise funds is even tougher than standard government.
Well, we'll knock around and see what we can rattle out,
I moved forward because I had a question.
Okay, state your name and address for the record.
Judy White Road, 7239 Buena Vista Road, Delta, Colorado. I've been doing some reading and I've come across articles where abandoned mines are being used for such purpose. And I mean, it doesn't go into all of the requirements or anything like that, but we have a few of those in our county. And I don't know. I don't know what's involved. I throw it out, I guess, as a different thought.
Given the nature of CDPHE, I don't know.
What does that stand for? please?
Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment.
Okay.
So, but
Is there currently asbestos going to our landfill?
Not that we're aware of.
Where is it going then on these sites that it's being removed? Do we know?
if they're not accepting it in Mason County, it's going over to Dune.
We've been told ours will have to go to Utah. And that's expensive as well.
Yeah, having gone through the process of tearing down a house and going through all the permitting, 1,400 square foot house, we had 80 samples taken. None of it came back friable. There was asbestos in the rubble, but not enough to do anything, and it did go to the county landfill, so there is asbestos going into our county landfill. In small, non-viral amounts,
And so
and that was permitted.
and the regulations, you can remove, 32 square feet. Without testing, without permit,
Right.
and take it to the landfill. So I mean, yeah, we are probably, there's probably some going there, but it is not technically classified as asbestos laden when it comes to us.
Okay. The other thing we wanted to bring up maybe was the availability of property and sale on Main Street, how people are utilizing this now and doing things. Oh, little niche businesses and such. Now we're gonna have, unfortunately, I heard rumor of a restaurant closing, but a couple others opening up. And this gives us the opportunity to not develop the county, stay in town where there is buildings available and we don't have to develop anything, so. We're trying to make it livable down there.
We wish you the best of luck.
It's going. What we have done and the process so far has been amazing. What happens when a few good people get together with generations of history on Main Street, so we don't want to see that die.
Absolutely, yeah.
Commend you guys on your initiative and energy.
Yes.
Thank you for hearing us.
You bet. Good to see you.
Thank you for coming. You can stick around. We have meetings all day long if you.
I understand there's not food though.
Thank
We
you.
know somebody works at McDonald's.
Thanks. Anybody else in the room that'd like to address the board? Lindsay, anybody on the computer? Okay. Next up, County Clerk Terry Stevenson.
The minutes for the February 21st, 2024 Board of County Commissioners special meeting. For any of you, are there any additions, deletions, or changes? I also have-
I just want to commend you for accomplishing that task, so.
listening to. Minutes for the March 5th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners regular.
No, not there either.
Looks good.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now we'll go into commissioner business. First up, board's consideration of the request for quote 2024 RFQ-01 Board of Equalization Hearing Officer.
I think Jolene and I are gonna tag team that one. We put out a request for quotes in January for a hearing officer, since our previous hearing officer has since retired. We received 3 bids, one from Eagle Appraisal Group, in particular Ryan T. Kane. I spoke with Brian and his bid was put in as a virtual hearing officer. That was something I didn't think that the board would appreciate. I think that our constituents deserve to have somebody in person. So we did make approximately, we tried to approximate what it would cost for him to have room and per diem for the time that he would have to be here. Debbie Griffith also submitted her request or her quote at $800 base and $300 per day. JRES put in $1 and they acknowledged that they did not submit a formal bid. They also were, the reason they did not request a formal bid is they also were gonna do it virtual. So at this time, we really have only the 2 bidders, Eagle Appraisal Group and Debbie Griffith. Elaine, do you have anything to add to that?
I just wanted to also commend you, Terry, for getting ahead of the ball on this. Getting it out early, so we had some time for people to bid and respond to us.
Thank you.
I'm happy to see that we got response.
We did, yeah. Do you have any question?
In the Debbie Griffith bid, what is the base that is 800?
It's just to basically be our hearing officer, so that is whether we have cases or not, she will get $800 just for being a
Is that
victim.
manual?
That's just, that one time a year. So, our last, hearing officer, his was 1,000.
Right.
So this is even less than what his was. Which is not unusual because they never know what they're going into, whether it's several days, one day, 2 cases, it's all over the board. But last year was, down.
Okay.
So, she is at this point, I would consider the lowest bidder. By the time you add the cost of a room and per diem to Eagle Appraisal Group.
Yeah, by far. I'll move that the board approve RFQ 01 for the Board of Equalization hearing officer to Debbie Griffith for $800 base fee and $300 per day.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, board's ratification of the lease agreement between Delta County and Rocky Mountain Health Maintenance Organization Incorporated for the premises located at 196 West Hotchkiss Avenue in Hotchkiss.
We'd like to get the ratification of the signature on this lease agreement between the Delta County and Rocky Mountain Health Maintenance Organization. They are going to be leasing a part of their North Fork office to continue the services for options for long-term care through Rocky Mountain rather than Delta County Human Services. The lease amount is going to be $1,251.47 per month. The county still maintains maintenance in general, it's still the county building. So that it's made up of other county departments, but we agreed to rent or lease that to them. So do you guys have any questions or comment? John did have the lease. I didn't make it up on my.
I think we went back and forth with them several times, and John finally got something they both agreed on.
Yeah, they,
So we're set today for a ratification. Do you want to make any record of why this ratification?
because Mike Main has signed the lease already. Due to, they started on March 1st leasing the area. And so we had Mike sign the lease in, so we need you guys to ratify the lease and signature.
Move the board ratify the chairman's signature for the lease agreement between Delta County and Rocky Mountain Health Inc. for the North Fork Annex, part of the North Fork Annex located at 196 West Hotchkiss Avenue in Hotchkiss.
Second the motion.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, so done. Thank you. Up next, board's ratification of an application to the Department of Local Affairs for a 2024 REDI grant for Delta County to be a pass-through on the Technical College of the Rockies for medical equipment to train students.
That's me again. We did submit, with TCR, I'm not even on the weeks today. We submitted with TCR an application. This would be the 3rd year that they're applying for the READY grant. This year's grant would be to purchase used ultrasound equipment and some general physical equipment to train surgery techs and ultrasound techs. They received a multitude of letters of support from community hospitals that, yes, they would love to see this go on. and they need these kind of people in the community, otherwise they have to send them to the eastern slope to get trained. There's no training over on this side of the western slope. And TCR, this is the third time they've applied for this grant. The first was for the construction, teaching kids construction. The second one was the in-classroom ambulance, which has been a success. They, what EMS people can do in our community. And now this and all the construction that's been done within the classrooms to support the stuff that's being done by the construction class that started this 3 years ago. So Randall Palmer is running a great little program out there.
Very good.
And this definitely benefits the community. There's nothing to sign, just for you guys to agree to, for us to be passed through for the grant.
Okay, well, good program, good to keep it here in the county, so I'll move that the board ratify the Department of Local Affairs ready grant application for 2024 to be a pass-through for the Technical College of the Rockies.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, so done. Thank you, Leona. Next up, board's consideration of the Delta County Ambulance District Ambulance License Renewal. Chris, this is yours.
Probably the last time we have to do this, as usual, once a year, we have to license ground ambulance licenses at the county level. Effective July 1st, CDPHE takes over ground ambulance licensing per law that was passed last year. And new state regulations that have been written by CDPHE. John and I still need to get together and determine what the regulations for the county look like going forward, because there was an option for us to still remain, opt into that process, and we have to look at what that looks like. But in order for CDPHE to take over licensing of the ambulances, they have to have a valid license issued by the county that expires after July 1st. And today is the day that Delta County ambulances license expires for 2024. So the request is to renew them. We're renewing them for another year, and then CDPHE will pick it up July 1st. I did get the full application packet from DCAT as always. All their insurance and inspections, they have a valid medical director, and I went and physically inspected their ambulances, and they also provided checkoffs and mechanical permits, and everything is in order as always. Any questions?
Nope, appreciate you going through all this effort. I know it's a pretty good time suck, so.
Is that one of them ambulance quotes, time suck? And there's 7 licenses, is that right?
One license and 7 permits.
7 permits.
They have a whole fleet over there.
I'll move the board approve the ground ambulance service license EMS 2024-01. And then the 2024 ground ambulance permit for AMB 2024-01 through 07.
Second?
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye.
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 Aye. We're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, board's consideration of an appointment to the Eckerd Cemetery Board letter of interest received from Holly S. Jones.
I will, with much pleasure, recommend the appointment of Holly Jones to the Eckerd Cemetery Board. I would also like to take the time to thank Bobby Jones, who has served on this board for 25 years and has done an amazing job. And I know Holly will do equally as well.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And thanks to Holly for stepping up for that volunteer appointment. Thank you very much. Now, number 6, we will postpone that one, so we'll go to number 7, ratify the warrants.
My computer just froze.
I got it.
Oh, you got it?
I move the board approve expenditures from the various funds to be paid by warrant numbers 150267 through 150544. And ACH transaction 658 through 681 from February 1st, 2024 through February 29th, 2024, totaling $2,547,339.04 in accounts payable and $2,645,457.43 in monthly county human services and health department February 2024 payroll for items budgeted and approved for Delta County policy. Approve the chairman to sign.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so done. Thank you. Next up, board discussion of disposal of county real property.
I asked for this to be put on the agenda here. As you know, our treasurer has done a good job of cleaning up some of these county properties that we've got sitting out there. One of the challenges we have with this is we do not have a requirement currently on the sale of these properties. That whoever purchases either need to have access to that, proven access to that property or unity of title. So I'm coming with the request that we change that policy, that as conditions of sale, it would require one or the other, either unity of title or proven access, just to avoid some issues. We've had a number of issues in the last 6 months of properties that have been sold that do not have access, and inevitably it becomes a problem for the planning department. And I just want to try to avoid future issues.
Stranded and isolated parcels.
Just, yeah,
without
and
access.
you know, most all of these properties get sold to somebody that's adjoining, so it's not a problem, but I just, you know, the amount of time we've spent in the last 6 months dealing with orphaned parcels out there is ridiculous. It has been an incredible waste of time. And we don't need to be creating problems by selling properties that could be an orphan property.
Explain unity of title.
Basically, it just means you're an adjoining parcel. So when you hold that title, you'll hold one person will hold title to both parcels. Am I explaining that correctly, John?
I think that's how you're using that term, yes, and that's what you're getting at, is if there is a. So I guess, and I don't want to step in prematurely here, but would this be something that it would make sense for the board to schedule a quick work session with the treasurer on, because there is an existing policy.
Right.
That was adopted by the board back in 2018 on this, and so that would have to be updated anyway. So maybe a work session just to kind of massage that before it comes back to the board. But that would be my recommendation.
Well,
Whatever you want to do.
and the other challenge behind that is we have property scheduled for sale here in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, they've already been listed, they've already been advertised, and it may be too late, but it may not be, so.
Mr. Mayor, how long would it take you to get some draft language in that policy to make this unity of title effective?
Well, I think it's Lisa's policy, so I wouldn't just jump into it. Well, it's the board's policy, but this was worked on quite extensively back in 2018. Don, you may remember that.
Right.
That we actually went through several versions of this. So to answer your question, Commissioner Coons, I wouldn't just jump in and start adding language. Well, I guess the board could tell me to do that, but I think that's why I'm recommending a work session. I mean, are you anticipating to get something into place there's a sale scheduled in 9 days.
We're not gonna make that,
Okay, so
but we need to have something to start with. So that it makes sense.
whatever you want.
We can schedule a work session with Lisa.
And that's fine.
Okay.
And then maybe she's got language we can start working on.
I mean, I'm happy to put in language depending on what the board's, like anything, when we start getting into this on the surface level, no pun intended, may look pretty straightforward, but all of a sudden it becomes pretty complicated. And trying to create language that is going to be applicable across the board in many factual situations, geographic situations, and that sort of thing, it might be a little challenging.
Certainly somebody who's done this before.
Well, I would think so, but, and I also know that this is gonna add a degree of difficulty to the treasurer's office through their sales. I mean, it's gonna add another box that has to be checked and proven, and it's gonna take some time. But it's, you know, selling, I mean, we would not condone somebody else selling a parcel without access. So why should we do it?
We got everything the same.
And this is, I mean, it is the resolution gave the treasurer, you know, duties to do this, expanded duties to sell these properties. But I just think, like I said, I just think there needs to be some protection in here, so.
Well, we'll schedule a work session with Lisa and John be involved in that work session and see if we can get some language put together that's acceptable then. But this 9-day sale, it'll still go ahead and go on as scheduled with all the properties listed? Or do we want to hold on?
I think we let it go. You know, it may bite us on the rear, but I mean, it's probably a little late now, so.
Okay,
Once again, it's the process we've seen over and over is, you know, when these things happen, they come to the county expecting us to solve the problems because they'd rather the county get sued than them get sued. So ultimately, I'm trying to avoid those issues, so.
okay. So we'll schedule a work session then. Thank you. Next up is board's discussion regarding creating barriers on county-owned right-of-way within city of Delta limits off of Fifth Street. I've got a 30-minute PowerPoint presentation. You want to bring that up, Lindsay?
Thought that was a joke.
I don't have one, Lindsay.
The joke is.
In fact, I had to have Lindsay's help to print off these maps. Anyway, this is down by Graff Road, west of the livestock auction area. You go across the river. When you're coming out of Graff Road, there's some kind of parking space just on the south side of West Fifth Street, which turns into G Road there. And there's been a couple of people abandoned vehicles there, and this last vehicle was abandoned, and then a homeless lady made camp in it for a while until they finally got it recovered. If we could make that parking area not as accessible for that to happen with the accumulation of abandoned vehicles and trash that seems like always accompany that. If we could put maybe a fence, and I thought maybe some boulders there to narrow that up a little bit to where we would have more coverage of that area, and hopefully for that not to happen. The neighbors across the road, they've called and requested that we could do something like that, and then maybe put boulders part way and then a fence on the rest of the boundary there. And the map shows that it's a right of way that Delta County has right in there, right at the bridge at the river there. And,
I authorized the chairman to go out there with his, post hole pounder and get after it.
can I put a stop sign in? Okay.
There you go, Mike.
Yeah, no, that's a no brainer. That's been a problem. I drive by there regularly and there's always a vehicle out there that's not supposed to be and just problems waiting to happen, so.
I agree.
Okay, well, I'll get with Scott and see how many boulders and what fence we can put out through there. For that, anyway, thank you. Okay, the next up is board's discussion of immigration and sanctuary county status.
I kind of asked for that one to be put on there. It has come to our attention, commissioners, that both Mesa and Montrose counties have approved a resolution indicating that their counties are not sanctuary counties to the extent that dumping of illegal immigrants within the county borders is really discouraged. And would like to hear your thoughts on this and whether Delta County should move forward to something similar.
My thoughts behind it is, it's basically, we're not a sanctuary county. I mean, if we're just restating that we're not a sanctuary county, I mean, that's fine. I don't know that it does anything other than state that. I mean, I wish there was something else we could do besides just state we're not a sanctuary county. As you may know, a lot of these people that are getting brought into neighboring counties would not fall under that status anyways, because they are typically ones that have been given asylum status, refugee status, and they are here, they actually have legal status, even though they have not been given a work visa by the federal government, which is absolutely brilliant on their behalf because they send them here and then they can't work. But like I said, I will follow the will of the board. I just wish there was something we could do besides just saying, hey, we're still not a sanctuary county.
There's really no teeth in something like that, but at the same time, you kind of, Mesa County had a good point that they had some nonprofits that were kind of speaking on behalf of Mesa County with to the governor about sanctuary status in Mesa County, and Mesa County, it prompted them to come up with a sanctuary county, non-sanctuary county status, simply because nonprofits were kind of committing the county to help with the immigration people that were coming. And they kind of wanted the nonprofits put on notice that if you run out of money, don't come to the county for money for migrants. That's what nonprofits are for, to have them kind of step up to that. But I thought that was a good point.
And it's got to be stated that, and I'm knowing you all's characters, that we are not against the legal migration and work visas that people come into the county to do that. We're all for that. We just don't want it to be done in a legal manner that jeopardizes the citizens of Delta County.
Yeah, taxpayers are footing the bills if that happens. But so I guess we can have John draft a resolution concerning that.
Did I just hear right that both Mesa and Montrose have recently done?
Yes.
Yeah.
that? I'll take a look.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Because I think you guys both respect and encourage legal migration as
Definitely, you bet. Okay, next up, Lindsay Mitchell, we have a review of the BOCC calendar.
This afternoon, there is a road and bridge work session at 1 p.m.
And then later this afternoon at 3:30, there's a Board of Health meeting. March 21st, there is an AGNC call at 8:30 a.m. March 23rd, there is the Delta County Republican Assembly at 10 a.m. March 28th, we have Coffee with the Commissioner with Wendell Kuntz up at Drive Brew Coffee 2 in Hotchkiss. March 28th, we have another AGNC legislative call, 8:30 a.m. And I believe that rounds us out. The next Board of County Commissioners meeting will be April 2nd.
And the Coffee with the Commish, what time will that start?
That's going to be at 7 a.m. this month. Wendell wanted to do it at 6:30 a.m., but I did convince him 7 a.m.
Wasting half the day.
I have nothing else other than on the 30th is CD3 Congressional Assembly. And that's in Palisade.
Is it just you, Mike, going, or is anybody else planning on going to that?
I won't be at that one.
You won't.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
We'll have the jail report, Delta County Detention Facility Population Count Report from Monday, March 11th, 2024. Male inmates, County Jail 25. Female inmates, County Jail 4. Male inmates, Department of Corrections 7. Female inmates, Department of Corrections 1, for a total of 37. Average daily inmate population for the week of 3/4/24 through 3/11/24 was 47.21. Next up, we have planning at 10 o'clock. So if nothing further, we'll adjourn until 10 o'clock. Okay, thank you. We'll come back on the record. It's 10 o'clock. Planning is up and we'll turn it over to the planning department.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Brittany is gonna be giving the presentation this morning.
Yay, another one. All right, so today we have PLN 23-084 F Ballard. This project is before you today to consider a preliminary plat to subdivide a 37.65 acre parcel into 3 lots in the A20 zoning district. The property is located on the north side of E Road and the west side of 2100 Road in Dell. The application is for a 3-lot subdivision, which is a preliminary plat. The application was presented to the Planning Commission on February 28, 2024 for a recommendation to your board. Lots 2 and 3 will require a variance to lot size as they did not meet the minimum acreage required by zoning. The Board of Adjustments approved these variances on September 21st, 2023. Access is existing for all 3 lots and domestic water has been installed to all lots within the proposed subdivision. As you can see here, the parcel is located within the A20 zoning designation. Generally, the abutting properties have been zoned as A20 with acres ranging from 98 acres to 1.6 acres. There are areas of A5 to the west with acreages ranging in 32 acres to 4.3 acres, with A35 to the south. A majority of these properties consist of larger ag fields. The property is located approximately 3.31 miles easternly of the city of Delta, on the northwest corner of E Road and 2100 Road. aerial overlay of the property, and you can see lot one consists of all irrigated ag lands. The blue line that follows the property adjacent to 2100 Road and E Road is the HA UVWUA ditch. Preliminary plat, access for each is illustrated by the blue arrows. All access points have been inspected and built to county standard. County engineering has issued access permits for each lot. The checkered area between lot 2 and 3 is the shared access easement. Tri-county water taps have been installed for lots 2 and 3, and lot 1 has an existing tri-county water tap. The purple hatched area along E Road and 2100 Road illustrates the road right-of-way being dedicated to Delta County, which equates to 0.85 acres. The application was presented to the Planning Commission on February 28th, 2024. The Planning Commission discussed items such as OWTS permits and domestic water, irrigation water, and the Board of Adjustment variance. The Planning Commission discussed the intent of the variance, as the variance was approved based on the intent that the subdivision was for estate purposes. In other words, for the applicant's children. The Planning Commission had concerns that if the Board of Adjustment approved the variances based on the intent, then the plat should be conditioned to support that intent. Therefore, the Planning Commission made a motion to approve the application with staff recommendations, adding a condition which was added to a plat note stating that ownership for lot 2 and lot 3 shall be initially conveyed to an immediate family member for estate planning for a period of 10 years. Staff recommendations, recommends conditions include easements and encumbrance being illustrated on the plat. This includes all utility easements, deeds to be recorded with the final plat, the inclusion of standard plat notes on the final plat, and mitigation fees for open space. Recommendations. With that, the Planning Commission recommends that your board adopt a resolution finding that PLN 23-084 complies with the applicable standards for a preliminary plat and conditionally approve Ballard Farms, a 3-lot subdivision subject to conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
And Mr. Ballard is here.
He noted one condition about being transferred to a family member. What are the other conditions?
So the other conditions were, that, the final plat needs to be recorded within 12 months from the date of preliminary plat approval, which is standard for all preliminary plats. And then, the easements and encumbrances need to be shown on the final plat. The parcel numbers of adjoining property owners need to be on the final plat, which was a request of engineering. That there's the UVWA plat notes, which is part of the utility easements. Those have been included on the final plat, and then the deeds be provided for each lot. That it includes the standard plat notes, and then that they pay the $300 open space fee per lot created, which is for lots 2 and 3. And then that last note, which was added by the Planning Commission for the ownership of lots 2 and 3.
So I've got a bit of an issue with that condition, you know, number one, they did it the way we ask. They maintained the ag ground. they're setting up the residential lots in places that aren't ag ground that, I mean, that would be the highest and best use for that. I think the planning commission has overstepped on this. And I will not be in favor of a resolution that requires that condition. If we remove that condition, I'll be in favor of it, but I will not be in favor of that condition.
Which condition?
That's the condition of deed restricting it to family for 10 years.
On exhibit A, it's number 8.
Yeah.
Is this something that the applicant asked for?
No.
Is this something that is required legally for any type of estate planning? How did we get to this 10-year period for immediate family member?
The staff report for that meeting. We had explained it at the very end, that this had been approved by the Board of Adjustment, and the explanation of why they were applying for a variance was for estate purposes for family. And the planning commission felt that they needed to enforce that in a condition. And they kind of went back and forth with a number of years, and they landed on 10 years as being an appropriate amount of time, in their opinion.
I don't recall anywhere in our 2024 recently adopted land use code that we have any kind of condition like this even suggested. Do
Oh,
you?
this is prior. This is not.
I know it's under
24
the
code, but
prior, but
no, it's like I said, it's.
So there has been previous plat notes that talked about leaving it in ag. The Board of County Commissioners has periodically removed that condition.
In the recording world, I wonder how that is enforced. How do I know that when a deed is recorded that it's immediate
That's right.
family?
So, Commissioner, so it's maybe to address kind of your question, this type of restriction was commonplace a few decades ago in Delta County. I think clearly we had moved away from that. It's a little surprising that it kind of pops back up at this point. I think it's dubious of whether it's enforceable at all. I think that's part of the reason that we kind of moved away from that. But there's lots of plats out there with language like that, but probably the time frame to run at this point. In fact, the old family splits, I think, had 7 years or something
Yeah.
like that. That was actually part of the old family split, which was under the, probably up through 2008, maybe even after that, I don't know. The old subdivision regulation.
can we ask the applicant to join us?
Mr. Ballard, would you like to come forward and?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Brittany, for going over this. So
Is your microphone on?
The button.
Thank you.
all right, morning, Fred Ballard. And this is our subdivision. Of course, when we first went in for review of this, we have, of course, I have 7 sons, so they're needing a place to live, as you know, anywhere in this western slope right now, things are expensive, so we is willing to split a piece off of this 40 acres. We farm the farm field right now, and the other part is not farmable. So in order to create a lot that's affordable for him at this time, we was gonna split this piece off, and that's what it all came down to, is we started out just saying, hey, you know, the purpose for this is so we can convey a lot to him, so he has a place to build, that you don't have to worry about encumbering the rest of the farm or the rest of that farm ground with a loan from the bank. Of course, the other one does have a manufactured home on it, and the banks don't like manufactured homes on property when they're loaning on it. So that's part of the reason for this. Of course, with 6 more boys to go, we figured there'll be a need for another lot. So it's not our intent to sell these lots, but I'm not in favor of this plat note. I actually come in and seen the planning department this morning, and they said they thought there was probably some issues with it anyway. I would ask that we don't put the plat note on there, and if so, that it may be revived a little bit, but I'm not in favor of this plat note. I am a land surveyor myself, do land surveys in Montrose County. all the time. You would never see a plat note like this go there.
No.
And even, we do a few here in Delta County, and I've never, well, as somebody else had mentioned, I haven't seen that, a note similar to that in several years now. So it just seems kind of weird. I mean, when they asked.
It's an overstep, you can call it.
Yeah,
What it is.
exactly. And when they brought it up, at the planning commission, basically they said if I was wanting to be removed, that I might need to have to go clear back to the board of adjustments. I said, well, we're not willing to do that. We've been waiting for over 6 months now, to get this thing approved, to get to this part. I don't want to start over. So.
Okay.
I have no other questions.
Okay, then, what resolution number are we here, Mr. Lane?
5.
Okay, I will move that the board approve resolution number 2024-R-05, a resolution conditionally approving a preliminary plat, PLN 23-084 F Ballard to subdivide 37.65 acres into 3 lots in the 820 zoning district located on the north side of the road, north side of E Road and the west side of 2100 Road, and that it specifically excludes Exhibit 8, condition number 8 on Exhibit A.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, so done.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. You did this subdivision exactly as the way we had intended with the code and preserved farm ground, and I appreciate your efforts on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next up is Human Services at 10:30. Planning doesn't have anything else, is that correct?
No.
Okay. So we'll adjourn until 10:30 for Human Services. Okay, it's 10:30. We'll come back on the record. And up we have a room full of Human Services people. Welcome, everybody. Annie, I'll turn it over to you.
So before we start our traditional overview of financials and programs, we wanted to make sure we brought to the board's attention, we have a special recognition today that was received. And so Melissa, if you'd like to stand up. So the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has sent an award, and their gratefulness and is recommending Melissa receive this honor. She is commended for her exceptional service in the location and recovery of a missing child. Her efforts reflect her professionalism, training, leadership, and concern for issues related to missing and exploited children. So she's been nationally recognized for her work. Her passion and dedication to our community is significant. She has been with the county for several years now and made an impact daily. So we wanted to thank her for her service, for the citizens of Delta County and for the community, and recognize her today.
Thanks, guys.
There's a letter that's attached with it also that has a little bit more specifics, but that's for you to. So if we could get a picture with the board.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Nicole, right? This is an option.
What we got is back as far away as she could.
Thank you.
Thank you. This thing got- Move over this way a little bit.
I'll be on the end.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I think we do have Melissa just.
Here's the rose. Glasses.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Very
Mary.
Tell us a little bit about how you came about the reward. What were the tactics in finding this missing child?
I think my biggest tactic was probably persistence. I'm pretty stubborn and we were lucky that we have access to resources such as this that help agencies when you do run into barriers in locating kids and, I mean, I have a great team, so just grateful to have the opportunity to work in this capacity, helping kids, so. Yeah, but mainly just persistence and having a great team.
Well, great,
Yeah.
great. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You can choose to stay or go, it's all whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria.
There are ain't.
Okay.
Well, that was the funnest part of the day.
There you go.
I don't know if financial work is fun. I guess, I think you find them fun, everybody.
I think first we have the payables report. It is a little bit higher just because February we do pay the work comp and liability insurance for the year. We also did our payment for the ClearGov budgeting system that we're gonna be using and some PSSF pass-through that was related off the statement. Do you have any questions regarding this payables report?
No, I have none.
Look good.
Not here.
So right now we're budgeted to be at about 8% and we're at 7%. The county portion this month is a little bit lower if you see compared to the past year, just because we received a chunk of refund of county money from last year. For out of home payment that we did, submit some SAA refund work. Is there any questions on that?
It's not an example of an SAA refund for that. So, something that could happen would be, say a youth is placed with a family and they're working on becoming certified. And so then, for example, we had one where the licensing agency had actually licensed them on a certain date, but hadn't let the county know that. And so what happened is then when we went to go retroactively enter that payment, they said, oh, it's beyond the time. However, it's not on the county, so then we just have to go through the process to where the CPA says, yep, that was our mistake, and then they refund the county money. So those types of things, that would be an example.
Very good.
And Nicole works very hard on it. And gets lots of.
I still have some more to do. I guess on a side note, for LEAP, so I help with the LEAP program. They did give us notification yesterday that they did not receive their full federal allocation yet this year. So we were notified that the furnace repair and replacement has ended for now. There is a wait list though, and they're prioritizing based on the need. So those that have been flagged for significant safety and health concerns are high on the wait list. So if and when that allocation is released from the feds to the state down to us, then they would start filling that list.
Do we have very many of those?
When I asked Tatiana today about it, there was not a significant number that came to her. So I don't think we're seeing a trend and those that are getting put on the wait list yet. But I did, ask her to let me know if she does run into one.
Any other questions on financials?
No, I'm good.
Well, I can imagine we are missing someone here at the seat, so that's part of that transition. They have fully moved into being Rocky Mountain Health Plan's employees. I still talk to Michelle, we still talk with the staff, and I plan to go up and visit next week, actually. But it's a transition, I think, for the community, and then now what their processes and procedures look like. So we're working through some of those pieces, because the way that it was structured is not always the way Rocky wanted to structure it, and they're bigger, they receive intakes differently. So they're going through a little bit of an adjustment period. The great part is having Lynn still up in the North Fork there, then there's communication on a daily basis so that we're able to keep up with what that change could potentially look like. So there's no detriment to individuals and services for Delta County. So that's the goal, but we're still working on that. And I promise I'd bring the burritos when I came next week. So next updates we have for eligibility. There is part of the long-term care, there's legislation even being considered right now, potentially for preliminary qualification for services because of some of the backlog that has happened with the new rollout of CMAs. And so nursing facilities weren't always, previously, if you were in a pending financial eligibility, they would accept you. And then after COVID and the new case management agency programs rolled out, they're not doing it. So they're trying to capture and move towards a place where individuals can be placed in facilities pending that eligibility and be covered. So that's a piece that's happening for the team, but there's changes coming out almost every other day on long-term care cases. And so the staff is trying to navigate those pieces, all within the goal of keeping individuals covered. But that means a lot of manipulation of the system daily, and emails from facilities saying, hey, we just saw lost coverage, how do we go back? And so there's a lot of navigation that probably wasn't as expected. So is there anything you want to? That was just my highlight.
Yeah, no, I mean, the changes are coming through the system as well. I mean, the system changes, the first CMAs our two systems will talk, so they can actually see some of the eligibility stuff, and then we could get referrals electronically, assuming that works the way that it's intended to. So it is more challenging than just the transition of them leaving the area. It's further building the systems as well.
And computers talking to each other, that can be an issue.
Yeah. Yes. So we will see, speaking of that, we are in about the middle of the state's project to digitize all systems to talk to each other. Right now, counties are using different systems to store their data, store their documents. And so, for example, if someone is receiving SNAP or Medicaid in Delta County, and then they move to Arapahoe County, our system doesn't automatically send them the documents that way. They can't access those. So you have to kind of go a roundabout way. So the state's in the middle of doing that. I will say that with the records manager position that we created with the county attorney's office as well for Cora, we were able to continue to digitize as much as possible. So when the state reached out to us, it was interesting because the state reached out to us last month to say, hey, we're now in a process where we want to send you 50 bankers boxes so you can put all your files in there and send it to them to digitize. And we said, oh, we're done. We did it all ourselves and we have it. So that has been great because we will then have a lot less work for the individual case managers, technicians, legal technicians, caseworkers to do. And so in that transition, we should be cross our fingers, the system should talk and it should go through. So we'll see. But that's in the works still as well. Child welfare, one of the biggest things we're doing right now is getting ready to plan for the Child Abuse Prevention Fair. So that will be coming up in April. And so we'll have on April 25th. So that will be coming. You'll hear some invites for that. They had a meeting, and so we've lined out who all of our guests will be. All of our providers definitely will have bikers there. They always come, Baca. They like to be a part of our event as well. And continue to expand engagement for that. So that's something we're kind of working on the last month and this month as well. And then one thing I think was important to acknowledge, and also a credit to Melissa, is that the state did reach out, and as they're looking at their county CSTAT results, that Delta County ensured safety in making contacts with victims timely 97% for the last year. And that's under Melissa's team. So, and she has held that, I think, for the last 2 years. I think she was 95% the year before. So she's done really well. So the state reached out to Lynette, myself, and Melissa, and we met with what is her process? How does she train? How does she coach? How does she mentor the caseworkers in a way that they are putting value on that as well? So she was recognized for that, and will continue to be a part of impacting the best practices for the state. So we're pretty happy about that. And so there might be another word on you. You never know. Very good. Anything you want to add for adult protection or shelter?
I just think that, I think it's important to note in child welfare that the number of referrals are increasing by 30 between last year in February and this year in February. So it's just an increase in our workload.
Can we attribute that to anything or?
Not an influx of new people or anything like that, just increase in referrals.
Curious if, you know, just stress of inflation and everything is.
You know, it's the two biggest ones.
Is there?
I would say probably at least 60%, and John, you could correct us around, but 60% of our DNNs at a minimum are substance abuse. They did.
Probably higher
And the court system's releasing everybody on a PR bond, so there's no way of taking people out of a bad situation on a, you know, when the cops come pick them up. So, you know, that's probably not helping either, so.
Soon stay sober for a little bit to then want to engage in treatment. So that's the hard part. And we understand the brain chemicals and the brain makeup that is being impacted, which is allowing them to not make choices to recognize what's happening. But you need that clarity for at least a good amount of time to start making some of those choices in a positive way. And so caseworkers, I think, continue to work on engagement. I think the DR track that we'll be starting is also very engaging and continue to help families navigate some of those things. But I think it's a challenge for us, but it's a challenge across the state.
It is. And it's fentanyl and methamphetamine that are the two biggest drugs that we're seeing out there being abused and impacting children. And so we continue to work on that day in and day out and encourage people to get into treatment. But our removals are slightly up as a result, and our DNNs are staying open longer as a result. And we successfully hired a new caseworker that started on the 18th of March, and we're finishing interviews today, and we'll have another new caseworker soon.
And I think one of those things I would add for both units. So I joked with Michelle Bear last week that told her she found the magic wand. I don't know where it is, but we have seen eligibility applications coming in several a week, and the most child welfare applications we've seen in like 2 years come in at all at one time. So we are going to really look at what positions we have, what potential funding we can move people in and out of to determine if we may need more positions. Because at this time, to have quality applicants coming in, and we may need to look at how many positions we have in child welfare and if we need to approach the board with a business plan to support that.
And if we increase in referrals, it's assessment that needs.
Right.
The intake workers.
And these referrals are coming from the teachers?
Teachers and community and relatives. Yeah, we're getting them from a variety of sources.
Like neighbors or?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes service providers, daycares at times, things like that.
Even a couple from repairmen that went to the homes.
Hmm.
Which is good, because that means that the community is watching out for our kids.
That's right. That's right.
It's a positive.
Any questions?
Adult protection. Sorry.
You're fine.
Adult protection is doing well. Our two workers are actively pursuing, trying to help people get into long-term care when they need it and working towards helping find families that can become guardians so that the county doesn't have to become the guardian. And I've been really innovative about reaching out to other community members and family attorney in the state for assistance on some of those more difficult cases. And I believe they're doing a fantastic job with our senior community. And our at-risk population.
Very good.
A difficult population to serve. You cannot force people to make decisions that you think they should. Or look at, improving their safety by placement, potentially going into facilities. And so really, I think definitely, as Lynette said, this team has worked to figure out how to navigate those really difficult conversations, engage supports.
What a difficult job. Holy cow.
Sometimes we have been working with one individual that we knew she needed facility care placement, but it took us 8.5 months and there was a bed for her. It just took that amount of work and engagement and trust for her to finally say, okay, I'm ready to go. And now she lives her best life and calls us every once in a while. But, we hear from her, but she's doing it.
How old an individual was she?
She's 76.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah, she had a TBI for her, so sometimes simple decision-making can be a little harder.
We have another client going into a facility this next week.
Good.
Very good.
Any other questions for us? It's kind of a short day today. I don't have a lot of motions or MOUs or anything.
No, but you had a national award winner.
Very exciting, very exciting.
Sharon did. He said stubborn. She never took no for it. Yeah. So.
Very good.
Another reason to celebrate her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guy. Next up is the county attorney at 11:30. We should adjourn until 11:30?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes,
Okay. We'll
I mean, that's all.
Welcome back, everybody. Now we have a very exciting topic from the county attorney, John Barrett.
No pressure, thank you. So I have one item for the board's consideration this morning, and that is the introduction and the first reading of an ordinance to repeal ordinance 2015 -1, which is an ordinance setting forth standards for the private burial, human internment of dead body on private property within the unincorporated boundaries of Delta County, state of Colorado. I think the board will probably remember, there's been quite a bit of discussion here and there on this topic, that this board adopted ordinance 2015 -1 back in 2015, obviously. And it addressed some of these matters that are covered in Title 25, which deals with health-related matters and some other things. I think on further review, there's really not a need for a separate ordinance. It's handled within that statutory scheme and really properly handled within the health department. And if necessary, I guess the Board of Health. But really, it's more of an administrative process. There's been a series of meetings with the health department, with the clerk and reporter, with the coroner, And really the recommendation of all that is really to just repeal this and handle that through a process, administrative process between those agencies. So that's what the board has before it. So what I'm happy to answer any questions, but what I'm asking is the board accept the ordinance as introduced and direct staff to publish and bring back to the board for adoption. If you remember right, when we do an ordinance, you need to have a first reading, you need to have publication, and then a second reading and adoption before it goes into effect. Any questions?
More private burials are coming about each year, seems like, and kind of have some guidelines for people who really want to fulfill their deceased loved ones' requests and try to do it in a good, regular manner. And so that we know where the grave is in the future also.
All those are the concerns in the public policy that are reflected in Article 2 of Title 25. And I think that in fact, you know, I can speak about enforcement and that sort of thing. There are enforcement mechanisms that are built into Title 25. And so again, you don't need that duplicated out of Title 30, which is an ordinance like this.
We need a motion on this or just a direction?
I probably would, it'd probably cleanest since we're in a legislative position here to go ahead and have a motion. That's probably best.
I'll move that the board accept the first reading of ordinance 2024-01. An ordinance to repeal ordinance 2015-01, an ordinance setting forth standards for the private burial, human interment of a dead human body on private property within the unincorporated boundaries of Delta County, state of Colorado, and direct staff to, one, publish in the DCI, and to prepare a second reading for the April.
At this point, it'll be scheduled for
April 16th meeting.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, thank you. So done.
Thank you very much. That's all I have for you today.
Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? If not, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much.